Hey everybody, welcome back to Discover SPRINGFORD. I'm standing in front of All That Jazz Dancewear, located on Main Street in Royersford Borough. Today, I have the honor of sitting down with the owner, Geoffrey Becht.
I'm Geoffrey Desiato, a professional actor, part-time realtor, and transplant to the Springford area. And I'm on a mission to find the best that Springford has to offer. I'll be interviewing local business owners, civil servants, and other prominent members of the community to find out what makes Springford a great place to live, work, eat, and explore. I invite you to join me on my journey as I discover Springford.
Jennifer, thanks for coming in on your day off so that I could do this interview. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So why don't we go back to the very beginning? You can tell people a little bit about your personal history and ultimately what led you to opening your own business.
Well, I went to college as a dance major.
Oh, okay.
So I taught for a while. I was a teacher for like 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And then when I started having kids, and that started to get difficult because it's all at night, it's
Sure.
weekends. I was missing a lot of stuff
Right.
with the kids. Like I wanted to be there for all the after school activities and homework and dinner time and all. And my husband was like, you know, you need a job in the day so you can be home. And,
Right.
and really it was him and my dad came up with this idea that where do I go to get my shoes? And I knew I go really far to get my dance stuff. And there wasn't really anywhere around here to go. And I started reaching out to some of the dance schools in the area and asked them if they would appreciate having a store, and they were all really supportive and helpful and liked the idea. So that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, that's really cool that you actually reached out in advance and did like that reconnaissance or whatever it's called, like to find out like before just saying I'm going to do this.
Well,
you actually
it's scary.
did some. Yeah,
it's kind
exactly.
of scary to open a store. Like
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
know, and I my best friend when I was growing up, her mom owned a dance store. She was my best friend from third grade, and she didn't dance.
Okay.
So I spent all my time at her store. I worked there. She used to take me to conventions in New York and everything.
that's fun.
And so I like always wanted to be at the store, and my best friend hated to be. She had to be there because it was her mother, but
Right.
she didn't dance. She was not into it at all. So when I first had the idea, we called her. She has closed her store and moved to South Carolina, but we called her, and all the questions I had, she was like the best person to ask.
Oh, yeah.
She had run a very successful store like years ago, and she really helped me get started in the way beginning. Yeah, she
Yeah, that's
helped.
crazy because I would not know
Well,
where
we
to
didn't know
begin and
anything.
that kind of thing. I
I
mean, you
know.
obviously know the materials that you need as a dancer, but
Right.
to know like where to get the vendors and
The
all that.
credit card machine. I had
all
no
that-
idea. Where do you
just,
get
like,
a
the
credit card
simple, like
machine?
everyday operational
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. So, what made you originally want to get involved in dance to begin with? Before when you decided, obviously, you went to school for it, but at what point did you
'cause
realize as a
I
child
remember
that was something you
my
wanted
dad
to
took me to see the Nutcracker.
do? Oh, really?
Yeah, and he took my sister and I, and we sat in the balcony in that little box right up at the Academy of Music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like so clear. It was like that little box right by the stage, and I remember I didn't even sit down. I stood at the railing the entire show, and I was really little. I probably was like 4 or 5, and I started ballet right after that.
Oh, wow.
And I just always took it, and then I would have periods of, I want to do gymnastics. I remember at one time I wanted to do figure skating, and my dad said, well, my parents were like, we can't afford, both, so
Right.
you can do it, but you have to quit dance. And I was like, no, not quit dance. So I just never,
Right.
that's just what I did. I just always what I did.
That's cool. So, was there a specific style of dance that you really preferred?
Well, always ballet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably wasn't my best. I was probably better at jazz.
Yeah.
But I always liked ballet the best.
Yeah.
And then when I went to college, they didn't have modern, like now modern and lyrical, like contemporary is really big.
Right.
But they didn't have that at my school.
Oh, okay.
So I never had that. And then when I went to college, that was the whole thing was modern, and I was like lost. I had never had it. I didn't know what to do. And my teacher there, who at Westchester, my teacher danced with Martha Graham.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, she was like the best teacher I ever had, and she actually really like took me under her wing and like helped me, because I hated it, modern.
Yeah.
I was like, this is against every, modern is the opposite of ballet, like
Right.
in so many ways. So it was like, I couldn't do it. And
Wow.
she really helped me, you know, work all that
Yeah,
out.
so you went to Westchester.
And then I
University?
transferred to
Okay.
Temple.
Oh, I know a lot of people, a
Yeah.
lot of friends have gone either to theater school, Westchester,
Yeah.
And stuff. So yeah, it definitely is a recognized.
Yeah,
there
it had
for
a
their
good
arts
dance
programs
program. And
stuff.
then Temple was even more
Yeah.
modern. If I thought Westchester was, when I got to Temple, that was even more, like it was really hard to even get a tap class that back then, or a jazz class. It was a lot of ballet and modern.
Yeah, so you went to school pretty much locally. Did you grow up
Yeah.
locally?
I grew up in Lansdale.
Oh,
I went
really?
to North Penn.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where my wife teaches in North Penn.
Yeah.
At a Christian school, and we lived in the Lansdale area for about
Yeah.
10 years before we came here. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
I grew up.
So you know, obviously, I understand the battle of having children and being in
Yeah.
performing arts with the schedules and things like that, because it is all nighttime and off hours and things like that. So, how long of a process was it from the time that you decided I can't keep doing the late nights and things like that? What was the process like from start to finish before you actually opened the doors of your business?
When I decided to open
Yeah.
it to when I was teaching, it was great when you
Yeah.
have babies,
Right.
because my husband worked in the day, I came home, and then we didn't have to do daycare.
Right.
I would go to work, and
Yeah, once he was
so
home,
once
yeah.
they started school is when it got, you know,
Yeah, 'cause you
more
need people there when they
difficult.
came home from
yeah.
school, yeah.
And I think it was really quick, because the first thing was finding a place. Like once we talked about it, and my husband was really like encouraging.
Yeah.
Like you think he would be like, no,
Right.
like that's so risky. Go get a real job. He wasn't. He was like all on board, and
Oh, wow.
and my family was really supportive and like helping me and encouraging. And so once we found a place, which was the first step, it was probably like 4 months. It was really quick.
Oh, wow.
From when it opened to when we signed the lease on the place to opening, it was really quick.
Wow.
We at first, when you don't have a place, when I got in touch with the sales reps, who actually my best friend's mother
Sure.
got me numbers of the sales reps, so that helped. And then they actually came to my house, because I didn't have a store yet.
Yeah.
So I remember the first time I met them, they came to my house, and we worked out my opening order at my house.
Oh, wow.
And they shipped it to my house because I didn't have a place. And then eventually, when we found the place, we moved it all over and set it. I mean, it took no time to set it up, because
Wow.
I mean, even in the beginning, I didn't have a lot of stuff either.
Yeah.
It was pretty empty,
Okay.
like at first.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any employees yet, because I didn't even know if I could afford
Yeah, sure.
rent. I wasn't
Right.
I wasn't gonna afford an employee. So then, I think I opened in August, because the dance schedule is back to school is
Okay.
August, September.
Yeah.
And that's the only time you're busy, pretty much. It's
Oh,
like
wow.
back to school.
Right.
So you kind of have to be there for that.
Yeah.
So it was really busy when we first opened, because it was just the right time. And I knew right away I hired a girl
Oh,
to
wow.
help me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what
So-
year was that?
2007.
Oh, okay. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
And that was originally in a different location?
That was over at the Collegeville Station.
Okay.
You know where that is?
I'm familiar
like
with it,
Appalachian
yeah.
Brew Company
Okay,
over
yeah.
there. Yeah, that was the first.
Okay, and you were there for how long?
Maybe like 5 years.
Okay.
I was in a space there, and then another space opened up in there that the landlord said, this is a better space for you.
Yeah.
My space was giant, and I
Oh,
couldn't
okay.
fill it.
Yeah.
And actually, I think what happened was somebody wanted to come in and do a nail salon.
Yeah.
And my space was already set up
Yeah.
with the plumbing
Oh,
for the
okay.
pedicure tubs.
Yeah.
So he wanted me out so he could let these people, because he's like, this space is really set up
Yeah.
for a pedicure place.
Yeah.
And so he moved me to this other, which was fine. So
Yeah.
we actually moved, even though it was the same building, I had to move everything over
Yeah.
to that space. So then we were in that space, probably like a year in the first one, and maybe like 3 in the second one.
Okay. And then what made you transition? You stayed in the Collegeville area at a
Yeah.
different location.
Well, then we went to Trap.
Oh, Trap. Okay.
And it was purely rent.
Yeah.
Like my rent was getting high there. They kept
Yeah.
raising it. And then the Trap lures you over there with this low rent.
Yeah.
And then they do the same thing.
Yeah,
and then
right.
it was just way too much. Like I couldn't do it. It was really nice and big.
Yeah.
But it was just way,
Yeah. And you were there for a good
maybe
amount of time.
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that was just too much.
So what ultimately led you to Royersford outside of rent, obviously, but obviously...
well, really, I drove, this is just my way to work. I drove by here every day, and I would always look on me. Like, this is more what I pictured in the original, in my brain, way back, when I first pictured a store, this is what I pictured.
Yeah.
Like a little...
Like boutique.
Yeah-ish. Right.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
And I always, love doing the window displays, and no one ever sees it. Like in the Trap Shopping Center, no one sees the window. Where you're back off the road. It was like a strip, and then in the Coswell Station, no one. I mean, the problem with that place, it was nice. It was great to start out, but so many people can't find that building. Like, people come far. Local people know it, but there are people that come far if they're looking for something and the dance store that's near them doesn't have it. They will drive 2 hours to come here to get it, So if somebody needs something and we have it, they couldn't find that building at all. They would call lost, and they'd be all upset, and I'd be outside waving or whatever. So I really just I always kind of pictured more this Main Street kind of vibe. And since we came here, and the first day I was open here, the mayor came in and welcomed me and set up all these things, like the tree lighting, and we had just events so we could participate in the community day. And there's so many things going on to help you, and to promote your business. And it was a perfect thing we've always had the live mannequin display at Christmas, Nutcracker. But no one sees it because no one sees the window. So this is so many people saw it because they drive by, and then they were, walking by. So it was just more, it just feels more like what I wanted in the first place.
Yeah, it's really cool because I feel like there's a touch of nostalgia with it, especially in a town like this, especially around Christmas time. That's one of the things that attracted me to this area. It's you're driving down, you see all the lampposts, they all have wreaths on them. You kind of feel like you're in A Christmas Story or something, like when they go to the town parade. And especially with the window displays, which was really cool the first year they did it because you had a lot of vacant storefronts and it really dressed them up and made people see what it could be like at night.
If they were all full.
If they were full with things. And Mayor Jenna, a great friend of Discover Springford, she shares a lot of our content on her social media. She was a guest when she was mayor-elect. We did an interview, so I actually met her at a community day, first year. It was the day before Discover Springford launched to the public. I bought a banner on Vistaprint. I got a canopy tent. I bought a table at the community day. Nobody knew who I was. I was selling I Heart Rofo t-shirts that I had made. And that was my introduction. And she was campaigning at the time. So she came up, we talked a little bit. And then, just to kind of see the growth in 2.5 short years, relatively short time.
And I think she's a big part of that.
Yeah, she features everybody. And she's always about town. She's always having breakfast at different, patronizing everybody.
She stops in here all the time.
She's impartial. She gives everybody their platform, which is awesome. And it's been really cool. That's been my experience with everybody that I've met. Everybody wants Royersford and Spring City, for that matter, to be what they once were, which was a hub of industry, great towns to raise your family, and I think we've shown that.
Well, we already have a good school. We already have the best schools. So we just need more. We need more restaurants. We need more little shops.
And that's what I'm so glad that you decided to come here, because these are the kind of places that people want to come to. It's those specialty, things that are a destination. There's not a dancewear store on every corner. It's not like a Walgreens or a Rite Aid, or it's I'll just go to the next one. To have some places that kind of not force people. That sounds weird, but they have to actually get off the highway and go and see what,
and park their car and walk,
and then they can come here. They may, I know a lot of people that they didn't know about Royersford until there was a specific thing that made them come here, and then they're like, oh wow, look at this place. I was that way. I was telling you before we started that I helped somebody buy a renovated house in Spring City, and it was around the time that my wife and I were thinking about buying a house, and we had some stipulations and restrictions of what we could afford and all that kind of stuff. And I was coming up Main Street and I drove through Royersford, and I was like, man, this is exactly one of the things I wanted to do. Is I wanted to be able to walk to a Main Street because I loved that feeling. And I said, like, we got to look at this area of Royersford because it's really cool. Like,
Yeah.
I can see it really becoming something awesome.
You can see the potential.
And and I didn't want to chase the trends like at Phoenixville and all and Conshohocken and the things that millennials, which I technically am still on the fringe of being a millennial, but like I wanted to be someone who helped make it what it could be. I didn't want to just like be like the last person on the boat. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to help.
Well, if you're the last, you can't afford it.
Yeah,
then all of a sudden you can't afford to live there then.
Yeah, right. So
got to get in early.
It's been really cool, especially to sit down with the business owners and the people who are actually taking the risks to set up roots and to invest in the community, because I think, there's always going to be growing pains and opposition for one reason or another, but I think there's a lot of people here that see the common good in what's happening in the redevelopment and seeing these storefronts with customers in them and products for sale is really encouraging. So thank you so much for coming to Royersford to do that, because I know it's not an easy endeavor, obviously.
No, it's like a roller coaster all the time.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about, are there any things that you specifically discovered about yourself since taking this leap of faith?
I think first, in the way beginning, I just discovered I had no clue how to run a business. Like, I was a dance teacher. I was a dancer, and I just went in and we kind of learned as we went. Like, I didn't never have a business class or anything. And my father-in-law is a accountant. So he helped us way in the beginning so much with the taxes, like so much I didn't know.
Profit and loss. And
all you think is you open the door and you sell stuff and you go home. Like, I just wasn't thinking about all the other stuff, and so my husband and my father-in-law really helped me with that part of it, because we didn't know we kind of learned as we went. We didn't know any of that stuff at all. But I don't know. I don't know. That's that was the worst part of it. The fun part is always the picking out stuff. Like, that's the fun part, and doing the window and dressing the mannequins. And I've been really lucky. Like, all the girls that I hire are so great. Like, working with the schools. I guess I always thought too, I was thinking of just dance schools in the area, and it really quickly expanded. Like, I thought of like 10 or 12 schools that I was going to try to develop relationships with to help, to make sure I have what they need for their dress code. And then people started coming from further away, and I just realized, like, oh, I need to expand my reach, and like I need to reach out and make sure I have what they need. Every school has a different dress code, so it's like hard to make sure you have what everybody requires. And then it started, I don't even remember how it happened, but I got to be friendly with the girl who runs the musical program at PJP. And she has been awesome too, and like I never even thought to call the schools, but I started reaching out to the schools for the plays, for the show choir, all that kind of stuff. So that helps get through the months where some dancers come, they need stuff in September, and then they don't need anything till recital. A little kid dancer. But the competition girls need stuff all the time. More all the time. But like in those slow periods, it really helps having the relationships with the schools.
And this is a very large school district. So definitely no shortage of schools between the elementary, the middle school, the 8th grade center, all
theater
that stuff.
groups, like the FaceTime and those theater groups too. Like there's a big theater presence in our
and even beyond. I know SALT is in Chester Springs. They have the teaching component as well as FaceTime does, and I'm sure there's no shortage of that. And you're from going to Westchester. I'm sure there's a lot of those old connections that you can tap into in Temple and that kind of thing. And Royersford's really not that far. So like you had said, people are willing to drive 2 hours to get something that they need.
Far. It's not like Target where you go once a week. You don't come here, so you don't mind going far when it's once in a while.
And it's right on Main Street, so
it's easy to find.
And you can get breakfast at Anna Marie's or Main Street Cafe, or and we definitely have no shortage of delicious breakfasts.
No, you can definitely find food on the Main Street. And the parking lot there is going to help. People are real nervous, I think, about trying to park on Main Street, but I've never, I mean, I park every day here and I always find a spot.
Yeah,
so.
it's definitely not a problem. I think I grew up in Philly, so I still have my
a nightmare.
parallel parking skills.
Yeah.
So actually, I will say arrogantly that I parked in 2 moves between 2 cars on Main Street, just like I did when I passed my driver's test.
Right.
You just got to sharpen up some parallel parking skills.
Yes.
It's not that big a deal.
Yes.
But yeah, like as you said, I think it's a 30 or 40 spaces are going in and right across the street.
Yes.
Which is going to be awesome for
the
many different things that are hopefully going to be happening in the next few months and years on Main Street. So,
yeah, that'll help.
Yeah, Jennifer, thank you so much. Is there anything that you think we did not cover that you'd like to talk about before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think it was good.
We covered everything.
Yeah. So
That's all I got.
Sure. No, it's all a great story, and thank you for telling it. I think one of the things that I find most fascinating, and I apologize because I do reiterate this a lot for those regular viewers, but it's the moment when people go from someday I hope to do this to today I'm going to do this. Like there's like that switch that flips, and there's a lot of people, I think, that they never get over that fear of taking the leap. So to talk to people who, even though they admittedly didn't know what they were doing, were willing to kind of say, well, I'm gonna die trying or whatever, that's really fascinating to me as a fellow, some entrepreneur and someone who kind of took some risk to pursue their dream. It's really encouraging to hear other people's stories because there's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of common points. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. As we wrap up, why don't you let people know the hours and how they can get in touch with you here at All That Jazz?
Well, right now for going into the winter, we're closed Mondays and Tuesdays. We're open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 to 6, Saturday, 10 to 4, and Sunday, 12 to 4.
Okay.
It's atjdancewear.com.
That's okay.
And we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram.
Okay.
Too.
And is the URL the same, ATJ Dancewear,
Yes.
for all 3? Okay. And we'll obviously include those links below the video so people will be able to click right out if they want to know more. And I would imagine they can see some of the merchandise that you have on the website and things like that, or at least the product lines that you keep. There's
probably a couple pictures, but the only thing you can really buy is a gift card.
Yeah.
You get a gift card on the website. But we do deliver for free. So we are delivering, we can deliver to your house, but usually I just deliver it to the school.
Okay.
I'll drop it off at the dance school. So people call sometimes or pay on, you can do PayPal. And we just drop it off for them if they can't get out here.
Yeah, take that, Amazon.
Well, it's hard to keep up with Amazon, but we're trying.
Yeah, and the more small businesses we can support, I think the better our community ultimately is, because it's money that's going back into the community.
Well, I feel like it's just being a mom and being busy. All the moms, even moms come in here all the time and pick up stuff for their neighbor, their friends. Yeah. So like, we all just have to help each other out. Yeah, right. And there's working moms that can't get here, and their kids are at dance all the time. You can't bring your kids. So we're just trying to, help out.
Yeah.
Busy moms.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode of Discover Springford. I want to thank you for watching, and I also want to thank Jennifer for allowing me to come in on her day off to sit down for this interview. If you'd like to know more about All That Jazz Dancewear, you can click the variety of links below the video. If you like Discover Springford and want to support the work that we're doing to highlight the Springford area, you can do that in a number of ways. First and foremost, you can share this video with your friends and family. You can also subscribe to our email newsletter by visiting our website. If you'd like to support us financially, there are 3 ways you can do that. You can make a one-time PayPal contribution. You can also support us for as little as $1 a month through our Patreon site. Or you can check out the merchandise we have available in our online store. Discover Springford is also a podcast, which you can find on any podcast app. That's the best way to listen to Discover Springford on the go. Thanks again for watching or for listening. Come back next time as we highlight more of what makes the Springford area a great place to live, work, eat, and explore.